All right. Welcome to Quixotic Heights, the podcast where we explore the ideas, bold dreams, and the beautifully unconventional paths people take to make the world better. Today's guest might just change the way you think about two things you probably don't put in the same sentence: laughter and worms. Cathy Nesbitt is a self-proclaimed laughter ambassador, leading online laughter clubs and embracing laughter yoga to help people reduce stress, boost resilience, and reconnect with joy. She's also selling worms by the pound and doing that for more than 20 years as the founder of Cathy's Crawly Composters, helping people turn kitchen scraps into living soil through indoor vermicomposting. It may sound quirky at first, but Cathy's mission is deeply serious: a healthier soil, less waste, stronger communities, and a more hopeful planet. And in this conversation, we're going to talk about the science of laughter, the surprising power of worms, and how small, joyful actions can create real environmental change. It's about healing ourselves while healing the earth. And so, whether you're compost curious, stress weary, or just ready for a good laugh, this episode is for you. And welcome, Cathy. How are you?
Thank you, Amy. Compost-curious. I love it.
I'm curious. My mother-in-law and I are curious, so we're going to definitely chat about it.
Beautiful. Love it.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about, let's start with the laughter ambassador. Um and also actually the worm advocate, like which came first?
The worms came first. I'm
Yeah.
located in Canada, just north of Toronto, largest city in Canada. In 2002, our landfill closed and we started to export our garbage to the US.
Mm, okay.
Little
And
secret people don't know.
oh well, yeah. Now they do.
Now they know.
One
Whoops.
subscriber. No, I'm just kidding. Um, okay, so the worms came first, but how did the two worlds collide with you being the laughter ambassador and also a worm advocate?
Yeah, so I started my worm business in '02, and I was, you know, I was so passionate about it. I believed that everybody needed to have worms to manage their scraps, and we were exporting our garbage. I had a solution for the wet waste
Mm,
and to turn it into black gold so we could grow more nutrient-rich food. So it's really a huge mission.
mm,
And I took it on and I went forth and I was promoting it, and wherever could have a table, I would have a table. And I realized people were afraid of what I had. They didn't want what I was flogging.
mm,
So I started to do school workshops, which was really fun. It still is it's my favorite piece of my worm business is going into schools and setting them up with a worm bin. How fun.
yeah.
And 2012, one more person said, "Ooh, worms in the house."
Mm,
I'd heard it hundreds of times previous. That day, I heard it. I questioned everything.
mm.
And I was about to doff my important mission. And the very next day, I was introduced to laughter yoga.
Okay. So what is laughter yoga?
Laughter yoga, it was started in 1995 by a medical doctor in India, Dr. Madan Kataria. His goal is world peace. What a great mission. And I believe it was started in 95 so we could be ready for 2020 when the world shut down.
Mm,
And so in 2012, it was kind of a hobby. I was going to a laughter club with my mother-in-law. It was our monthly date night. We'd go for dinner and then we'd go to laughter club, and it was fun. It was just a hobby. We loved it. I didn't take the laughter serious. And then I was doing paid gigs. I was going into long-term care, working with special needs, helping people just get out of stress and feel better.
mm,
Again, kind of, worms were my main business, and this was just a little side gig. I was making some cash on the side and helping people feel better. And then 2020, and everything got shut down.
yeah.
Since I was doing school workshops, I was locked out of schools for 2 years, as everyone was.
Hmm.
Ha ha ha, not funny. And I took a deep dive in 2020 into the expression, laughter's the best medicine.
Mm,
I was like, what is it true? And what does it mean? And if it is true, and it is, by the way, why don't we just laugh? Why aren't we laughing more?
hmm.
Because we've forgotten. We knew, and then because that expression, I ask people all the time, have you heard that expression? And I haven't met anybody yet that hasn't heard the expression. Where
Right.
it came from, we don't know, but we're all saying it. So my goal now is to help people return to laughter.
Yeah. So what is a I'm still trying to envision this because my husband was like, "You're talking to a who? What?" And she's like, "I can't imagine doing yoga and laughing." And then also, what happens? What's the typical experience like going to a laughter club? Like, how do you get people to laugh?
Oh, okay, thank you. Yes. So laughter yoga is not doing yoga and laughing.
Okay.
It's laughing as a cardiovascular exercise. It's the yoga part of laughter yoga is the practice of the laughter and the deep diaphragmatic breathing.
Hmm.
When we're laughing, we're exhaling. Ha 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 ha. In order to keep on laughing, we have to take a nice deep breath in. So we don't have to think about breathe in, breathe out, although there are breathing portions to a laughter yoga session. It's more it's inspiring the laughter. So it's not jokes or comedy. We're not up there, we're not funny people. I'm funny, but most people are not funny. And we're not anti-humor either. It's just that jokes are generally cultural. Two people
Hmm.
going somewhere, not funny for those two people. It's probably
Hmm.
about them. So this is a way for us to just get our giggle on. When we're laughing, we're secreting all of the love drugs, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, the happy chemicals
Yeah.
versus cortisol, adrenaline, epinephrine, the stress chemicals. And we're living in this perpetual state of stress at this time. And then we dip into joy every now and then. And we go, oh, that was nice. I like that joyful experience. Okay, back to life.
Hmm.
And we've forgotten that I believe that joy is our birthright. I believe that we are meant to be in joy, doing what we're meant to do joyfully.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you 100%. I think we were placed on this earth in this lifetime to experience as much joy as we can and get what we can out of it versus misery and sulking and all that other stuff. So my mind went to when you said that you started this worm business. How did you get started? And I'm envisioning you like literally stepping outside and picking up worms. Like I don't tell me about how you started your business.
Yeah, so the idea came. How did it even come? So in 93, I moved out. I'm from Toronto. I moved out of Toronto and bought a house out of the city. I mean, just it's the same story as today. People couldn't afford even back then to live in the cities.
Mm,
In large urban centers, we
yeah.
have to all move out, and that's where suburbia comes from. We keep on building out. So that's what happened. I moved out of the city and still had to travel to the city for work. In 93, a teacher friend asked me to look after her worm bin.
Mm,
When I bought my house, I couldn't wait to start gardening and composting. So I knew that part. I knew the value of the worm compost, but I truly didn't want to have worms in my house. Now that's my life.
mm,
I took on the challenge, and at the end of the summer, I gave the worms back to my teacher friend. I got the black gold. I got on with my life. I was getting my psych degree. In 2000, I graduated and got a job at a group home working with challenged adults, and they didn't compost. And I was like, oh my gosh. It was the first time that I really connected. Like I said, wow, people don't connect what they do. They're
mhm.
creating all of this food waste over here, and then they pay all that money to get rid of it over here. And they had a farm.
Yeah.
So I asked them, why don't you compost?
Yeah.
And they said, we don't need the fertilizer because we have cows.
Mm, mhm.
Wow. Okay. Again, they're not connecting the dots. So that's fine. You have fertilizer. You could create more fertilizer. And if you don't need it, it's water soluble. It's non-toxic.
Yeah.
You could throw it on the grass. You could
Exactly.
sell it. Imagine you could sell it and make some money. Hmm.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So many ways. So that was fine. Then the greenhouse manager said, what about worm composting?
Hmm.
Oh, Amy, have you ever done something and you're like so excited about it and then it doesn't work out the way you think it's going to work out and you're like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that again. That's what happened.
Okay.
That's how I felt with the worms. I was like, okay, yeah, I tried it. No, not for me. And then fast forward. So, I think the universe is an interesting place. We get these signs, we try things, and if we're aware, we can connect looking back. We can't connect the dots going forward. There's no dots. It's
Yes.
just a blank slate that we're creating. So 7 years later, I was introduced to worm composting again, and I was like, ew, not the worms again.
Mm,
But when I came home from work that day, I was like, oh, wait a minute. It's an institution. They're not getting worms anytime soon. So I started to do research and I discovered the magic of the red wiggler worm. So these are not the ones that are outside. These are special composting worms.
mm,
They eat half their weight per day in food scraps. They turn garbage into gold to grow more nutrient-rich food. They have 5 hearts each. While I was researching, I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a beautiful thing. Everybody needs worms. And I heard or learned while I was researching that a pound of worms and their descendants could transform a ton of organic waste in a year. And that the
mm,
average American family produces a ton of organic waste in a year. So I was like, oh, every family needs a pound of worms.
mm.
And I'm just the one to put a pound of worms in every house. And that was my goal. I was like, okay. And I really thought that like my idea was to put worms in every living space. Worms in every home, every apartment, every classroom, not just one in a school as a project, but everywhere as a functional system. Wherever there would be a recycling bin, there would be a worm bin.
Mm,
So you're at the community center or at every office, everywhere, worms everywhere. That obviously not the case yet.
mm. Yeah.
And I did mention that I have a psych degree. I'm fascinated by people, and what I've learned is that people might have been traumatized as children by worms, somebody chasing them around after a rainy day, or a fishing incident, the green goo that comes out. Something might have traumatized them as children. So if you were traumatized as a child, you're not looking to that as an adult as a
Mm.
solution.
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting. So okay, a pound of worms for a ton of waste. And how big is a bin that would hold these worms? And do people literally put it inside their house? And where do they put it usually?
Great questions. Thank you. Any container will do for worm composting. I'll use a Rubbermaid tote or a plastic tote that you can move around. The amount of worms you have determines how much food you can put in. So I said a pound of worms, just for easy math. If you had a pound of worms, half a pound per day or 3 to 4 pounds per week of food waste. Pretty substantial. Like some people will say, wow, oh, we create way more scraps than that. Good. That means you're eating at home. And that's what people will say to me. Oh, we're a family of 4. How many worms do I need? Rather than being based on per person, it's more lifestyle. Are you vegetarian or vegan? Do you eat most of your meals at home, prepared from by scratch, or are they, frozen meals? Or, these all will determine how much food scraps you're producing.
Hmm. And when
They
you
don't
say,
eat they don't eat meat.
okay,
It's not
yeah.
that yeah, it's not that they don't eat meat, it's that the meat will rot faster than
Yeah.
the worms can keep up. Composting is aerobic process, meaning with oxygen. So yes, you're adding in rotting scraps, but it's aerobic, meaning with oxygen. So if your worm bin ever smells, the oxygen has now been converted to gas.
Hmm.
We can't breathe gas and the worms can't breathe gas. It's a built-in mechanism. Where do they keep it? It needs to be in the house where extreme cold, like most of Canada. In the winter, the worms, if when they're frozen, they die.
Hmm.
I'm not laughing that they die, but right, so they need to be brought inside. On the opposite side, in extreme heat, Florida, Texas, California, it's too hot there, so the worms would need to be brought inside in the summer.
Hmm. Okay.
So yes, it can be in the kitchen. You want to put your worm bin in a place where you're going to remember to feed them. They have a voracious appetite.
Mm,
So if you're adding the food in, really nothing else to do. You add your scraps. It's your food scraps and paper, and
hmm.
the worms eat all of that, and their poop is the fertilizer.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Very fascinating.
And there are different systems for, for those that don't want to be hands-on with the worms. There are tower composters. So there's, several trays, and each tray has holes in the bottom.
Hmm.
So when the worms have converted the material in the one tray, when it fills up, you add another tray on top, and the worms will crawl up through the holes and
Yeah.
then leave behind their black gold. So you don't have to manually separate.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Sometimes people are fascinated by novelty things, right? And so they'll go and they'll do this thing, and then after a month or so, they're like, this is not really for me. What do they tend to do with the worms? Do they return it to you, or do they set them free? What do they do?
Well, a lot of the clients that I have, I can't say that everybody's continued all of this time. They are of that mind. They're in the sustainable mindset. They're homesteaders. They're people that are doing permaculture, or they really care about the planet. So it's another way for people to take another step and be responsible for our footprint, for our ecological footprint. So would say for the most part, people take this on as a serious initiative. They want to not use chemicals on their gardens. They want to have more nutrient rich food. So yeah, so some people will maybe give them to their local school, because it really is a great lesson in classrooms.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So how did your friends and family think about you starting this business?
Now 20 years in, oh, I'm like so smart. But at the time, and anyone that's thinking about starting a business, family might not be the place to go, because your family wants you to be safe and they want you to be successful. And if you have some kind of way out there idea, they may not be ready for it,
Hmm.
and they may detract you. They may be, not putting you down on purpose, because I really think that people are doing the best they can, and they probably love you, and so they want you to just get a job so that you have money, because when you start a business, no matter what your business, it takes time to get your clients, to get your message out. When you have an odd business like a worm business, that you want people to have something in their house that they're kind of afraid of,
Yeah.
it's that added level, which is why I took on schools.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I remember when I was younger, I think my fear of worms came from, because I was a refugee from Vietnam and living in a cave where a bunch of snakes fell down from the roof in the middle of
Wow.
the night, so anything
Yikes.
wriggly and slithering just freaked me out. And I did have someone torture me with a snake when I was a child too, just running around chasing me with it.
Wow.
However, as I got older, I started to appreciate worms and what they do for us. And then my mother-in-law, she's partly the reason for this. She's very huge on composting, gardening, all that stuff, being very earth conscious. And we would literally go and pick up worms and rescue them out on the sidewalks, And so my love of worms is a very interesting path, but I appreciate really truly what you do. And I love that you've been doing this for the past 20 years, which is not an easy thing to do, to start a business and keep it going, for that long. So, my mother-in-law actually had a curious question for you, and she wanted to know what was your advice for composting for desert dwellers?
Ah, yeah, moisture is really important.
Hmm.
Moisture is one of the key components. So pardon me, if you're composting outside, probably you want to have a pit. So you got a little bit cooler temperatures below the surface. So a pit, and making sure you have lots of browns on top, like your carbon material, which would be your brown grass, brown leaves, um, paper, even. Yeah, on top.
Yeah. So at any given time, how many worms do you have in your house?
Yeah, I would say hundreds of thousands,
Really?
perhaps even a million at certain times. Right now, we're focused more on the mental health aspect now, with the laughter and the different modalities that I bring, the energy modalities.
Hmm.
And that happened since 2020. Just, the schools were closed, people were homeschooling, and I just feel like people are really struggling now, even though we're 5.5 years past the cuckoo
Hmm.
time. I feel like there's some people that are still struggling that were really affected during that time. And I
Hmm.
want people to care about the planet, Amy, I do. But when you're in a mental crisis, it's not possible.
Yeah, yeah. What surprised you the most, you think, about working with these worms? Were there any misconceptions that you had, or just either it be the care about them or just how they reproduce, or I don't know.
So many things. I really, I love the worms. I'm so enamored by these little teeny creatures that have been waiting millions of years to help us with our current climate, our
Hmm.
garbage. We create too much waste. And I'm talking about food waste. It rots in the fields. It rots in transit. There's so many hungry people in the world. There's no reason for all this food to go to waste. So that's one thing, their transformative ability. In North America, we've destroyed the soil. And I believe that the worms are here to show us the way that we can return back to more organic ways. And I don't mean overnight. We didn't get to where we are monocropping overnight,
Hmm.
with acres and acres of corn, wheat, and soy. Um, but I do believe that we will be going back that way because it's our life. It depends on it. Some other things that have really amazed me about the worms is it's a whole ecosystem. So in your worm bin, there are, I don't know, thousands and thousands of microorganisms. And at different times, one slight temperature change or one, little bit more moisture, and you create different conditions for different organisms in the bin. So you might have an explosion. One day I had an explosion of, it's called slime mold. And it was so beautiful. I mean, when you say mold or mites or bacteria, people are like, ugh. It's all like we are bacteria. We are all of these microorganisms. So we need not fear nature. It's a beautiful thing. What we can't see, we get afraid of. But so this slime mold, it's like iridescent, it's neon colors, and it's got a life of its own. It's like you could watch it grow. It was really beautiful. But it's mold is just a decomposer as well. So it's decomposing the material that's in there so that it can feed the worms.
Hmm.
Anyway, yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
and I got it because I was doing all these school workshops. I got a digital imager so I could take video footage of some of the critters in the worm bin. So they're magnified 40 times. And my husband was able to get a few beautiful shots, one of a worm inside a worm egg. So the worm egg is the size of a sesame seed, a swollen sesame seed.
Mm.
And you can see the little worm inside the egg, like it looks like a red thread. It's probably not that exciting if you're not a worm farmer, but oh my gosh, so beautiful. And then he got video footage of a worm, and it was the end. And when these video clips are like 30 seconds. When I go to schools, I'll show them right at the end, and I'll say, this one, we didn't know which end we were filming. And you
Mm.
can see the worm moving, like the muscles, the lines. It's really beautiful footage. Beautiful, again, if you're a worm farmer. And then all of a sudden, so I say, oh, look close. So the kids are all looking close. And then the worm poops.
Mm.
And they go, oh, like, ah. And then they go, ooh, gross. Oh, can we watch it again? Like they're so excited, right? Because kids love poop.
Yes.
And this little beautiful like little poop comes out. And what I really believe, and not that I'm advocating for eating rotten food and paper, but if we ate like worms, meaning we had fiber and we had all the things that our body needs, we'd poop like worms.
Mm.
And we wouldn't be sitting like struggling in the washroom.
Mm. Interesting. Do you name your worms?
There's too many. There's too many.
Batch A, batch B. Wow. So you mentioned earlier about gas, right? Like if it starts to smell, what do you do in that situation when you get to that point?
Yeah, action is required because if something goes wrong, it goes wrong fast. So if it starts to smell, then okay, now there's either too much food, it's too moist, so it's too wet, so the moisture is squishing out the oxygen, or something's happening, so action is required. You need to probably fluff up your bedding, add some more dry bedding, remove some of the food, or call me.
Mm.
Send
Yeah.
me an email. Worm
Okay. And
hotline.
what if you're traveling, and you're gone for a period of time?
Have a great time. First of all, the worms can be left on their own, especially if your bin is established. You've had it going for some time. There's
Hmm.
lots in there to eat. The worms will consume the material, 6 or 7 times to get all the nutrients out. So there's
Yeah.
lots in them for them to eat. If you're gone for more than 3 weeks, I would say get a worm sitter. Just like you would have someone come and water your plants, just have someone come and toss a couple of apple cores in your worm bin just to keep them going.
Yeah. Are there any do's and don'ts that you could quickly give us some tips
Yeah.
on? Yeah.
Yeah, no meat, no dairy, no sauce. So no toxic things. What you
Mhm.
want to put in is your fruit and veg, coffee, tea, cooked pasta and rice. Bread can go in, but in a school, I would say leave bread out because there would be too much bread, and on pizza day, too much crust. And bread's not really like a natural thing. It is kind of processed.
Mm.
And of the fruits and vegetables, I would say no citrus.
Mm. Why is that?
They're in because we make chemical cleaner from citrus peels.
Okay.
And I'm making my own. It's really a wonderful thing. You get white vinegar and you throw in your orange peels, lemon, lime, and you just leave them sitting in the vinegar for 3, 4 weeks. Then
Yeah.
you take out the peels, strain it, and that liquid is your orange cleaner.
Yeah.
It
I
cuts
wish.
grease. It's really beautiful and it smells really wonderful.
Yeah.
So there's antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal properties in the citrus peels, and composting is bacteria. We don't want anti anything. We want pro.
Yes. Yes. So what do you think is so unusual about these worms that make them ideal for composting?
They're voracious appetite. They're small, so there's 800 to 1,000 worms in a pound. So if somebody had a
Mm.
pound of worms, it's like a couple of handfuls. Um, yeah, how much they eat, they're pretty quiet pets. It's just getting over the ick factor, getting over the idea of, ooh, worms in my house. We're not used to that. It's kind
Hmm.
of a foreign concept. And if we can just change our mind and embrace the worms, and I think that's what I find is when people do take this on, like they're like, okay, I want to do something else for the planet. What else can I do? Everybody eats. So composting or worm composting, it doesn't matter what people choose to do. It doesn't matter for me if you have worms or not.
Hmm.
But composting your material rather than putting it out at the curb and having the truck come,
Yeah.
being responsible for what we're creating. I find that it helps us slow down. When we're looking after something live, there was a project, and I can't remember, it was somewhere in the States, and I can't remember where it was, but it was in a prison, and they had 5-pound boxes. Each person that was involved in this worm project had a box with 5 pounds of worms,
Hmm.
and so they would feed the worms the scraps from the cafeteria, washing the eggshells, crushing those up because you need to add that in. And those inmates that were involved in the worm project, when they got out of prison, they had a tangible skill. They were gentler beings because they were taking care of something. They had a purpose while they were in prison.
Wow. Okay, so with the eggs, you do wash the shells and then you can crush them and put them in your worm bin.
Yeah, so what you do need to add, if again, vegans will say, well, what do we do? You can add like Tums or take some chalk and grind up the chalk. So you needed to add in some calcium carbonate,
Mm.
and that's what you get from the eggshell. So it's if you do have eggs, or maybe if you're vegan, maybe your neighbor has some eggs. What I do with eggs, once I've, cracked them, I give them a quick rinse. I air dry them. So, no, I don't use any special equipment. Just air dry them on the counter. When they're dry, I throw them in a jar, and then I use my Vitamix plunger to crush them up.
Hmm.
Because the worms have a very thick skin. They don't get cut by the eggshells, so they don't need to be pulverized.
Mm,
But not everybody, but the worms don't really eat the eggshells. It's the calcium leaches into the system, and they need the calcium for reproduction.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, so and it help the so it serves a few purposes. It helps to balance the pH in the bedding, like in our body. So there's so many correlations between the worms and our body. We need to be a certain pH, and the worms need a certain pH in the soil. It's fascinating to me.
Wow.
Mm.
Okay. Do you know if there's any areas where redworms are not native?
Well, apparently, earthworms are not native to North America. Prior to the Ice Age, or during the Ice Age, they were all destroyed. Apparently, I don't, I have a hard time believing that because there are worms everywhere, and
Hmm.
they only travel, like they don't travel in their lifetime very far. They get transported by people fishing, or when things are imported in the plant material, or different ways that things are imported. Um, at this time, I would say there's no worms in Antarctica, no earthworms in Antarctica.
Hmm. Wow. Okay. Are there any questions that I didn't ask that you think should be asked with regards to composting or worms or your business? Um,
Perhaps just like why do this other than, oh, it's a nice project and it's cute, whatever.
yeah.
Food waste is one of the major contributors to climate change because of the off-gassing, the methane as it starts to rot.
Mm.
So it really is something that we can do. We feel good, and we can contribute, like play our part in doing something to help mitigate climate
Yeah.
change.
Okay. Because I'm originally from the Seattle area, and growing up there, we do a lot of recycling and composting. You go to like Microsoft and you stand there and there's like bins upon bins, and you sit there and you're like, okay, plastic fork goes here, and paper plates go here, and that kind of thing. And then now that I'm in Oklahoma and I've been here for 8 years, that's the one thing I've noticed is that people don't really compost or recycle, and it just breaks my heart. And I hope people like you and I, especially you, can help change this mindset, um, and the culture, because like even when I throw glass in the recycle bin, I know that not all of that glass is going to get recycled.
Mm,
And my husband, he works on a landfill. He's in the natural gas industry,
mm.
and so we're very conscious of this thing. And so when I told him that, I'm going to be talking to you and learn more about composting and with worms and stuff like that, he was very, very curious. So I wouldn't be surprised if we might be reaching out to you later and say, hey, let's give this a go. Um, but let's pivot a little bit, because I would love to talk more about your laughter, um, advocacy as well. So, obviously there's a lot of goodness that comes out with laughing, but is it as effective if you are fake laughing? Like if you're just going through the motions of it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. That's the one of the magic pieces of laughter. The body doesn't know the difference between real and simulated laughter.
Hmm.
It's so beautiful. Yeah, so the brain does, right? The ego does. And for people that are very serious, very logical, they're in their head, they want to think about all the things. We can't think our way out of things sometimes. We need to feel them. So the laughter yoga teacher at the beginning of a class will for anyone new would say, allow yourself permission to play.
Hmm.
Get out of your head and into your body. If you're asking, how can I laugh without stimulus? What do you want me to laugh? What if you're questioning, you're in your head. So please drop down into your body. And as soon as we start laughing, we're secreting all those happy hormones. We're oxygenating our beautiful body. And the brain requires 25% more oxygen than the rest of the body as an operating principle. It's a machine, right? The answering machine.
Hmm.
When we're under stress, blood lymph oxygen leaves our frontal lobe and goes into our muscles so we can escape from the situation, even if we're escaping from our mind. So
Hmm.
laughter brings us to the present. When we're laughing, we're not thinking about yesterday or tomorrow or that conversation. We're not even thinking. We're just full on present. And more than once, I've been leading Laughter Club. There are 40 foundational exercises. So, laughter yoga is a series of exercises, little games that the teacher leads you through. And sometimes when I'm laughing full on, I totally forget everything. Everything's erased from my brain. I can't remember anything. And it's okay. Nobody knows what I'm going to do. So then at that point, I might invite everybody to take a breath because I don't know what I'm doing next. So that gives me, and I always do 3 breaths in a row. So that means I've got 3 slow, long, deep breaths that I can be like, okay, breathe in. I'm thinking, okay, what can we do next? And then I go forth. And in 2020, I mentioned taking a deep dive into laughter's the best medicine. I've incorporated a lot of different healing modalities, tapping, brain gym, qigong, and other modalities just to help people get out of stress and into joy. Laughter is complementary medicine. I haven't heard of anybody dying from laughing too much. Like they might have sore stomach and sore cheeks.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I just learned about tapping like a year ago, and I find that fascinating. And I have a gal who does that. She leads, a tapping workshop. Usually when I have a guest on, they're authors, right? And I'll invite them to do a reading for a couple of minutes. I would love to invite you to, instead of reading something from a book, maybe lead us in a laughing
Okay,
yoga exercise.
I would love it.
Love to try it.
Yeah, okay. So let's just get into our body. So when we're clapping palm to palm, and the rhythm is 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and the words are ho ho ha ha ha. So we'll just do that, a few rounds of that. Ho
Okay.
ho ha 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 ho ho ha 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 ho ho ha 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 ho ho ha ha ha. There we go. Very good. Very good.
Very good.
Yay!
Yay.
Hey, so Amy, there's a new product on the market. It's called Laughter Cream. It is. And so it comes in a pump. How convenient. Sometimes it comes in a jar, but today it's in a pump. So we're just going to pump out some laughter cream, and wherever we put it, we're just going to start laughing because it's laughter cream. Okay, here we go. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Pump out some laughter cream. And oh, take as much as you want. It's free.
Okay. Oh my goodness.
uh, and laughter cream is a wonderful activity because what I help to inspire people to do is laugh every day. As part of it, laughter is part of my health plan now. I
Mm,
laugh every single day. I do have a laughter buddy that calls me in the morning. But with laughter cream, I've labeled my cream in the bathroom, not that I needed to because I'm a professional, but laughter cream. So when I go in there, it just reminds me. So I'm putting on my lotion after the shower, whatever, and I like, oh yeah, it's laughter cream. So that I can be laughing by myself while I'm doing that activity. It's hard, even as a trained professional, it's hard to laugh by yourself.
mm,
That is one thing. That's where the laughter club comes in.
yeah. Yeah. Okay, so what changes have you seen in people who have like maybe attended 1 or 2 sessions? And why do they
Mm.
keep coming back?
Oh, so many stories, so many really emotional things happen. So when people laugh, because we don't laugh as much anymore as we used to, and even children are born into this world that has so many problems, that I think that even children are laughing less.
Mm,
But when we have a trauma, we like say it's something as simple as tripping in public. We jump up, oh no, I'm okay, and we're embarrassed. But
mhm,
that trauma gets into our body. If we don't go, animals will go and shake it off. We don't. We hold it on and then the next one goes on top.
mhm,
Sometimes if people haven't done any personal development, they haven't done any deep, like demon doffing or whatever, when they laugh full on, when they come to the club and they're laughing, ha 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 ha, people can experience sadness. because these memories get dislodged. They've been in their DNA for decades, sometimes from childhood,
Mhm.
maybe. And so they get, sometimes these memories can come up and people might get sad. And then they get confused because it's like, I'm at the laughter club. Why am I sad? Um, so it's really important as the laughter teacher to keep an eye on our audience to make sure that people are okay. Um, yeah. So what I would say to people if that happens is just to look at that. Like now maybe you're ready to look at what is that came up, and that can be free. Then you could go, okay, thank you. I don't need you anymore.
Mm.
You're free to go. But here's a wonderful experience, well, not a wonderful experience. I had my club in person, and a woman came and she said, I had knee surgery 8 weeks ago, and I haven't slept for more than 2 hours a night in 8 weeks.
Mm.
At the end of my club, I say, notice how you feel. Your body is having a party. Notice how you sleep tonight. I hope you sleep well. I hope you sleep well every night because it's an important part of our healing.
Yeah.
She phoned me a couple days after the session. It was her first time. And she said, remember, I had knee surgery and I hadn't slept for more than 2 hours a night. Yes, she said, I slept all night.
Mm.
And that was great. Like, wow, that's a big win. She said, when I arrived home, my 19-year-old son was in an existential crisis.
Mm.
And she said it was like somebody took over my body. I don't know this woman. I don't know her son. I don't know the story, but I can imagine that said to me, crisis. So he's shouting or crying or something here. She comes in from laughter, fully oxygenating, fully oxygenated, wearing her, with all the oxygen going through her body, all the love drugs. She walks in, crisis on the sun. She's able to hold space. She
Mm.
said it was like somebody took over my body
Mm.
and I could hold space for my son. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I really started crying. I was like, that is the power. This is potent medicine.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that story. I think that's amazing. And you've done these in person as well as over Zoom. Is that correct? Can you do
Yes.
like a
And
workshop at home or?
yes, I do. I do in-person laughter sessions. So I'm in Canada, so they're in my yard in the summer, like spring to fall. In the winter, I
Mm.
haven't found anyone hardy enough to want to laugh outside in the winter yet, including me.
Yes.
And then online, yeah, I have my club every Tuesday, and I also get a lot of paid gigs like long-term care, working with special needs. I go into schools, like I was with the worms, but now to bring laughter because
Hmm.
the students are struggling again. I think from 2020, I think there's still some residual.
Yeah. Do you think there's more and more laughter clubs out there, or do you think you're kind of in this very small niche and you're like one in a million?
It's there's a lot of us. A lot
Yeah.
of people will take the training, and then like a lot of things, it's a 2-day training to get your to become a laughter yoga leader. And in 2 days, like I actually train people now, and I really want to guarantee that my students are comfortable leading laughter.
Hmm.
And that wasn't the experience that I had. It was kind of like the person was a laughter yoga leader factory and she was just churning us out. And then we're out there and we're like, oh, what do I do now? I don't know what to do. And there was
Yeah.
no follow-up where I want to make sure that my students are comfortable. And that's the piece. So I do offer ongoing mentoring, and people can come
Okay.
to my beautiful club and practice. Um, yeah, so there are a lot of people. A lot of people take the training just for themselves so they can learn about the history of laughter and the benefits. Why would I laugh?
Hmm.
I could just take an antidepressant. Why do I want to laugh?
Hmm.
Because we can administer our own, like we're in charge of our own pharma. Really beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you see as the future then for both the laughter yoga and then also for the composting and specifically the worm composting?
Yes, before 2020, I thought I was a juggler. Like I have a sprouting business too. So worms, sprouts, laughter. I was like, oh, what do you need? I have it. Just
Yes.
tossing up options. And when we had all that time to think, I was like, oh my gosh, all three of my offerings offer a wonderful, simple, sustainable life. Maybe not as a business, just as things that people do. So when you're composting your scraps, either with or without worms, and you take that soil, like you have to slow down. If you're going out, walking out to the compost pile, it takes time. You're walking out there, hopefully you're looking around, you're not on your technology, just looking around, taking in the air, and then you go and you turn your compost and maybe you plant a plant or something. Like it's just, I think it's really helping us slow down. So I believe that worms or composting is going to be ever increasing. The younger set today seems to be more aware of the problems and ready to solve it. That's been my experience with younger people. And the laughter is just going to be continue to be ongoing. Corporations now are taking on inviting laughter yoga people in to do team building because it breaks down barriers. The president and the factory workers, they're all one in a laughter session. There's no
Yeah.
titles.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
And hospitals and people going through cancer treatments, imagine laughing with their whole team. Then
Mhm.
you're not stressed. Your body's ready to absorb the medicine. Again, it's complementary medicine. And when we're in a relaxed state, our body can absorb what it needs to absorb easier.
Yeah. I attend a lot of conferences, predominantly for writing conferences, writers. And I think you would be amazing to have at a writers conference because,
Mm.
we writers, we're dreamers and we take ourselves so seriously for our work. We're so judgmental um, in terms of, is our writing valuable? When we pitch to our agents and stuff, is anybody going to even care? That kind of thing. And I think um, there's so many courses that we take about the craft of writing or the business of writing, but not doing this, like laughter yoga. Like this is so important. Anyways, the reason why I'm bringing this up is I would love for you to come to one of these conferences.
Set me up. If you can connect me, that would be great because here's
Yeah,
what happens when we're laughing. So if you have a block, you're a writer and you have a block, you can't think.
right.
And you're like, I got a deadline, and you just keep thinking about the deadline and you get more blocked because nothing's happening. What happens when we laugh? It frees us. It
Yeah.
frees it, like our brain gets oxygenated, all the synapses are happening, the feel-good hormones. Ah, creativity can flow right in. So it really frees us to be more creative, to be more prolific in our writing. It just is a wonderful tool for everyone to have in their little toolbox.
Yeah. Wow. I'm learning so much from you today, Cathy. Thank you so much. Let's talk a little bit about just entrepreneurship because there we have a lot of, business owners out there, and oftentimes it's the whole we don't know what we don't know until we get going. And I have a friend who says, fire, or she's like, ready, set, fire, and then aim or something like that. Like basically just go and then worry about the aiming later. What was your experience like? Just, if you can think back to 20 years ago, what did you learn about entrepreneurship?
Well, I learned that one of my favorite expressions is without awareness, action is impossible.
Mm.
And that goes with everything, but it had to do with my worm business. If you didn't know you could have worms in the house, you didn't, and that's bad for business. So I chose media as my marketing strategy, and such a great, that was such a gift
Mm.
because if somebody else is writing about you instead of paying for an ad, it has so much more street cred than just reading an ad. People are like, oh, they paid for that. But if
Hmm.
somebody else is saying, oh, this is a great company, or, you need to try this product, it's really great. Yeah, so I've had over 300 articles, TV, radio, documentary, and now since 2020, over 450 podcasts, guest appearances.
Woohoo. I love it.
So it's really telling people what you do, what is it you want to do, and I love what you said to fire and then aim because we're always looking for perfection. We always want it to be oh, not yet. Oh, I'm not ready to launch yet. Go ahead and launch because if you don't do it, somebody else is going to. And then 6 months you'll be like, that was my idea. I was going to do that.
Hmm.
That's right. You all got the download at the same time, but they went with it and you didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, and you learn on the way, and circumstances change, and so
It's
yeah.
never going to be perfect.
No, no, it never will be. You're right. Um, okay, so legacy wise, you love your worms, you've been doing this for a while. Um, how are you going to hand off that baton when you are ready to retire from the business, or, you just, for whatever reason, decide I'm done? What would you do?
I'm kind of in the process of that already. There's a few worm suppliers that I've snuggled up to, and I'll be passing on um, my material that I have. I have like hand carved wooden worm earrings that I had made when I was on a trip in Guatemala.
Wow.
Um, right, I know, so beautiful, like so many little stories and things. So, and I'll be helping her grow her worm business while I right now am transitioning into more of the mental
Mhm.
health. And I think, part of my legacy is the education that I've done. Over 100,000 students have seen my presentation, and I'm branded. I always, whenever I speak at a school or I'm doing a worm workshop, I have my company shirt on. And so when I'm exhibiting, more than once I've had students come up to me and say, "Oh my gosh, Cathy," because it's over 20 years. You came into my grade 3 class, and because we had worms in the class, I went to university and now I'm an environmental lawyer.
Mm.
That's pretty good
Talk
legacy.
about legacy and impact. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, Amy, we're always making a difference. We are always impacting people, well, good or bad, right? We might say hi to someone, or we might hold the door or not. We might, these little acts that we do are impacting people, and we don't even know, like just random strangers on the way past. We wave or we don't. We help them with their groceries or we don't. These little things impact people, but we don't always know the impact we've made. And I've
Hmm.
had the privilege of knowing that I have had an impact.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So Kathy's Crawly Composters, like, do you think that that name, that brand would carry on as well, or do you think
Mm,
and eventually?
Probably not. And it was funny when I started my business. People were like, "Oh, that's such a small name. You're never going to amount to anything because it's so small. Like, how are you going to be a global thing?" I was like, I want it to impact one person at a time. I'm not necessarily. People ask me all the time, "Can this be scaled up?" Everything can.
Hmm.
But my goal is you have worms and you have worms and you have everyone just be responsible. Because on a large scale, and your husband would know this, dealing with the gas at the landfill, you're dealing with, like, first of all, you're dealing with the individual, like what's collected at the curb. And people don't always do the right thing. They want to, but they don't always know what that is, or they don't care. So they don't do the right thing. Right? People are like in the composting programs, like they put in batteries or their old paint because they don't want to take it to the household hazardous waste section. So if we're dealing with all this stuff, these are living creatures that's going to kill your worms very quickly. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you're talking, and I'm thinking of Oprah all of a sudden. I'm like, okay, you get a worm, and you get a worm, and you get a worm, we all get worms. I think I think it's so beautiful. What is if you can recall, maybe what's the funniest moment or experience that you've had, interaction that you've had with somebody when it comes to worms, or just with the laughter yoga?
Grade 2 class. I have two. And they were both grade 2, I believe. So I hand around a bag of worm poo, and I'll say to the kids, you can dip your hand in, you can feel it, whatever. And this young boy, he took a big sniff. He was like, and he goes, "Oh, it doesn't smell like mine, that's for sure."
Oh.
Like, so funny. That's hilarious. It was like, oh, thank goodness. Okay, good. And then I also hand around or show the kids worm eggs, and I'll have it in an egg carton, which is, I think, very clever. And so when this again, a young boy said, um, "Are the parents when the egg, what happened? What do you say? So I say that the egg gets deposited in the soil, and so he said, are they the parents, the worm parents, are they around? And I said, well, all the soil critters kind of take care of each other in the soil. Like the parents aren't
Mhm.
necessarily. And he said, my mom would have been so sad if she wasn't there when I hatched.
That is the cutest thing. Oh,
I was like, oh my gosh, I got to write that down. That's hilarious.
they say the darndest things, don't they?
Isn't that great? So fun. Oh, I love what I do. Amy, I really want to inspire other people to just like find what it is. If you're in a job that you really hate, find the good in it. Find what can keep you going there every day and be searching for what it is that you want to do because life is short. We never know when our last day will be here. No one knows. So why wait until my husband and I traveled at 27 for 13 months in Africa and Asia. And people said, "Oh, I'm going to travel when I retire." Oh, okay, good for you. I'm 27. I'm not thinking about retirement. I'm not thinking about like in my 60s. And I realize now I'm in my 60s. I realize, gosh, the world's a different place. Some of the places we went are toxic now. You can't even like where there's war or something there. You can't go there now. There's a lot more people. It's just different. And I have a different interest now at 63 than I had at 27.
Sure.
I wouldn't be able to walk around with well, not that I wouldn't be able to. I have no interest in carrying my 40-pound pack
Right.
and
Yeah.
hoofing it.
Yeah, no, those are definitely missed opportunities. That's another reason why, like, my husband and I are going to Vietnam for 3 weeks,
Mm,
in March. And he's humming and hawing, and I'm like, I'm going by myself. Like, it'd be nice if you and my son Preston can go with me. And, it was one of those things where, like, when then we will, right? And I'm like, why wouldn't we just do it now while we can, and the rest can fall into place as it should, as it needs to.
fire and then aim.
Yes, right? Like have that courage and just go for it. And I realize not everybody's in that situation where they can, but it doesn't have to be a big, trip to Vietnam. It could be something small. Just find what joy you have. And like you, anything can scale up. And I think with whatever our passions and what brings us joy, we can turn that into a business, and monetize it and make a living off of it if we can just have that gumption to be brave and go and then learn along the way. So you've really inspired, I hope, our listeners, with your stories and your passion. And as we wrap up, I have some rapid fire questions for you if you're game.
I'm ready.
You're ready? Okay. Morning ritual, laughter first or worms first?
Laughter first.
Love it. One word that describes your life right now.
Joy.
What makes you laugh instantly?
My brain.
What's something small listeners can do today to help the planet?
Compost.
If
Yeah.
Worms had a slogan, what would it be?
Feed me apple cores.
What does a good life mean to you?
Being at peace, being in joy, taking time to smell the roses.
What's the name of your favorite worm?
Ready.
What'd you say?
Ready. Like,
Ready?
because they're red, they're ready to eat. They're just ready. They're ready for sex. They eat, they're eating,
They're
they're
just
mating, they're
ready.
pooping. They're
I
just
love
ready.
it. I love it. Okay. Well, I mean, as we close, are there any topics that you want to cover that we haven't already covered? Any final thoughts, comments?
I would love to invite you and your listeners to my Tuesday club. It's free, it's online, it's every Tuesday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 30 minutes of super fun self-care. As I mentioned, I incorporate tapping, brain gym, qigong. It's a wonderful community just to come experience the magic of laughing for the health of it. It's cathysclub.com is the website.
Yeah, perfect. I was going to ask you where, and then people just register for that. Is that right? And
That's
then,
it.
and then
Yeah.
you get a Zoom link and off we go, right?
That's it. And I
Okay.
don't have a waiting room, so you just, you can sometimes people can only come for a few minutes. Just come, pop in, you pop in, pop out. It doesn't disrupt anything.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, well, as we wrap up, I'm going to go ahead and close out for our listeners. Listeners, that was Cathy Nesbitt, and reminding us that sometimes the simplest solutions are also the most joyful, that laughter can be medicine, that worms can be climate heroes, and that meaningful change doesn't always start with something big. Sometimes it starts with a smile or a handful of compost. And if today's conversation inspired you, you can join Cathy's online laughter club or learn how to start your own indoor worm composting system. We'll link everything in the show notes. And if you enjoyed this episode on Quixotic Heights, please follow us, share, and leave a review. It helps more listeners discover these stories of creativity, of resilience, and people reimagining what's possible. So until next time, keep reaching, keep questioning, and keep climbing your own Quixotic heights. Thank you for listening, and thank you to my wonderful guest, Cathy Nesbitt. Please find her on cathysclub.com. Thank you so much.